Welcome back to episode 4 of the Ultimate Man Cave stroke workshop stroke office stroke shed stroke dance studio for my wife stroke. Not really sure what this is going to be yet. Today has been raining a lot, so it's very wet, very muddy, and I have got some expanding foam to sort out the joints in between, or any gaps in between the insulation and the woodwork, just to make sure it's, you know, there's no drafts or anything like that. Really good. So I've just got to take the cover off and fill all the gaps, hopefully before it rains. So, as I said, it is really muddy. It rained all night, so I've just uncovered just over half of the base, and I've got 3 of these cans. I'm not sure if that'll be enough, but I've got 3 of the expanding foam, where I'm gonna start filling gaps like this. I had a little bit left over from another can, which I did late last night, and it's kind of dried okay. It's quite high. The can was very old and it didn't work particularly well, so that's why I've got some good stuff. And just a case of working my way around, letting it go hard, and then cutting it off flush, probably just with the pad saw. And then the ply, which is 12mm ply, is going to lay down on top of this and form the sub base. And all of this is what we're going to cover in this episode. So by the end of this, you'll know exactly how to do it all, and you'll have a really well insulated floor with no gaps, which means no drafts, and a really solid subfloor, which, as we progress the build, there'll be really good reasons why we've done this, and it will save loads and loads of hassle later on. Let's crack on. Okay, so we've gone over the whole floor, and I mean, it's expanding foam. It can be really messy. It's really difficult to get off your fingers, but it is really easy. As you saw from the time lapse, I had my 11-year-old son helping me, and although the first couple there was quite a lot of foam in there, he soon got to grips with it, and it made doing the rest of it an absolute doddle. So all we have to do now is just let that do its thing. It'll expand and dry, and then come back in an hour or two and it'll be ready to trim off, and then we can start getting the ply down, which then gives us a really solid base to work from, and means we're not constantly walking over all the mud and everything like that. So let's go and have a cup of tea. So it's all filled, all the expanding foam in that pile has been trimmed off. So now we've got all the gaps are filled and it's all swept off, well, except that pile. And now we're ready to lay the subfloor. Now, a few things to know about the subfloor. It is not a structural floor. This really is just to help with the ease of building and giving us a flat surface to walk along. It will provide some strength and rigidity to the base, but really what we're going to do is we're going to use it to help square anything that isn't quite square up, and just screw it down. So when I'm laying it, you will notice that some of the joints fall halfway across in between two joists. Now, that isn't how you want it. If it's a structural floor, you need the ends going onto the joist, but because each section of the shed, office, man cave, whatever, is going to have its own floor, and that might be timber floor, it might be another ply line floor with lino on it, I really don't know yet, then the structural floor will come much later. So I'm not stressed about gaps falling on in the halfway between joists. That for me at this point isn't a problem. So the first thing to do is to just move a couple of sheets into position. I'm going to start in this corner over here first, and then get a row along the back in. And once I've got the first sheet in place, then I'll tell you more about what screws and all of that stuff that I'm using. Okay, let's go. Okay, so I've laid the first sheet in place, and I've used the good edge to check that it's flush along this side and also along the back. What that does is that allows me to know that that corner is square, which it is, obviously. So that's a really good start, because I want the whole base to be square, and that's a really nice check. So that means that once that goes in, that should run really nicely along there. Also worth noting is these noggins. They're in they're offset, so the ones on the right will be picking up this row of sheets, and then the ones on the left will be picking up the next row of sheets along here. So there is always an edge to fix to in every other space. So now basically I don't want to walk on that with my wellies, but that provides a really nice section, a really nice base for us to build up from. I'll just lay, the walls will go directly onto that, and then I don't have to keep balancing and ballet dancing across the joists, trying not to fall through the insulation. So that's the first sheet in place. Now let's talk about what we're going to use to fix it down with. Okay, so now it comes to fixing the ply deck down. This is 12mm, just 12mm standard ply, nothing fancy, and very straightforward. As I said before, this isn't the structural deck, so I'm not going to be putting loads of screws down in this, maybe like 3 across the joists, and then when I put the next floor on, then that will get all the fixings that will go through this floor and into the joists, so it will sandwich it all together. So basically it's very straightforward. The first thing you do is locate your joists and put a mark on there. Then you do the same at this end, and then you're just going to draw a straight line across those. It gives you a nice straight line. Now I'm using these 40mm, they're called screw type multi-purpose screw, the cheapest ones I could find in Screwfix, to be honest, and I'm going to put one in each edge, probably like 20mm in, well no, maybe like 50mm in, and then one in the middle, and then I'll do that on every joist, and that will be plenty to hold this down. As I say, everything else will be fixed through this into the floor, so in some ways the screws just help me know where all the joists are moving forward, and just provides a temporary solution just to hold this down while I'm building on top of it. Okay, let's get going. So it started raining, and I guess that's what you get for doing this in the winter. So the garden is super waterlogged, and I covered up the base, and that's covered in water now. So I've got to try and sweep that off and then get these bits of ply cut. Now obviously no one likes working in these conditions, but it needs to get done so that I can cover it all up, and then we can start getting on with the build. Let's go. Okay, so what we're doing now with the last sheets along these edges is I've just laid a full width of a sheet down. I've cut it to the right length so that I know I can get 4 more sheets in there. But rather than measuring and cutting the shape of it sort of out of place, I suppose you mean, I've just laid the board down, and then I've used the measurements that I know and checked from underneath to mark out the shape of the deck. And then all I'm going to do now is just whiz along that with the skill saw, and then that will come off, and then we should have a fairly nice edge. It's really raining, there's loads of water splatters. Yeah, it could be better, couldn't it? Okay, let's get on with this. Okay, so there we have it. The subfloor is down. Like I said earlier, not the ideal conditions for laying this sort of stuff, but you know, I've chosen to do it in winter, so I've just got to put up with it. It's taken me 12 sheets of ply, although I have got some offcuts, which might come in handy for other bits and pieces. Now it's a case of just, I'll give this a quick sweep off, cover it back up, and then the next stage, which is really exciting now, the next stage will be building the walls. All the timbers come, I'll run you through that in the next video, and yeah, now you'll really start to see things progress a bit quicker. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you've picked up a few bits and pieces that you can use on your own projects. In the next episode we'll be doing the walls, and if you haven't seen the previous episodes, we deal with the foundations and the timber floor and the insulation, so go back and watch those. I'm gonna record this whole process, so click the like button, subscribe. If you've got any questions, put them in the comments below, or there'll be another couple of videos around here somewhere where you can just go straight onto. I'm also doing a basic design series as well, teaching you how to design your own garden room in SketchUp, so that you can create it in 3D modelling, and then it's really great for ironing out any little design problems so that you don't have to figure them out in the rain, you can figure them out in the office. So go and have a look for those on my channel, and hopefully you can be designing yours with me and then building along as well. Okay, come back for the next episode. Peace.